Hey everybody, it's Party Elite taking a look at the one and only, newly released, old friend, Krell. Very quickly we've gone from speculating what he might be to seeing him on the battlefield, with a few changes still to come with the Norska update. That tells us that a lot of things are still subject to change. For now though, he appears as an ability for Kemmler called Lord of Undeath that costs 173 points to take to the field in multiplayer, and after 135 seconds from the start of the battle, you can summon him to the field once. If you'd like to learn more about Krell's lore, check the video under the eye at the top right corner of the screen. We cover his backstory at the start of that video. This one is more about using him in-game and some early thoughts and viable approaches. Again, very early thoughts, so feel free to put in your own input. From a purely statistical perspective, he's quite impressive. 100 armor is great damage negation from non-armor piercing damage, and while his 70 leadership is great, he's currently unbreakable but slowly crumbling away like other summoned beings. There's a slight hint on Reddit that this might change in the near future though, potentially with Norska, leading to a solid 70 leadership. He'll stick around and fight for a while. A speed of 33 is slow, but not slower than most of your vampire count infantry, and his 50 melee attack with what looks like a great swiping area of attack is quite solid. The 32 melee defense is certainly on the lower side, which means he can take damage if attacked appropriately, but the 470 points of damage, 260 of which is armor piercing, is quite powerful against clumps of individuals, and he won't have the worst charge either. But of course, he's no horse, as much as some of you might want Kemmler to mount him. A missile resistance of 15% will protect him from focus fire a little bit, and a magic resistance of 20% will keep him relatively safe and possibly reflects his armor of the barrows. Apart from that, he will provide encouragement to nearby troops with a +8 to leadership, while striking fear and terror in the enemy. It's interesting that he doesn't have any abilities based off of his Black Axe of Krell, and not even magical damage, but maybe that'll all change with the Norska updates. So what's the best way to go about using Krell? Well, he's definitely a good hunter-killer. The range to raise him from the dead is just about the same as the Raise Dead spell, and that's enough to get behind enemy lines and chase after casters on foot or even some enemy lords that aren't so inclined to melee. He still can't go toe-to-toe with Grimgor or Sigvald, but with some Invocation from Nehek and Corpse Cart or Mortis Engine support, he can do a lot of hurt to them. But Krell is not some duelist. He's a former Khornate champion, killer of many. Try raising him behind enemy lines where you'd like for the enemy to crumble. Target armored enemy units to take advantage of his armor piercing, and give him some room to charge in as well. His melee defense is on the lower side, so don't be afraid to support him with Undeath Resurgent, and if you catch his health dropping low, remember to pop Invocation of Nehek on him to keep him alive and kicking. As some of you have seen from my recent online battles and another I'll hopefully be putting up soon, I like the Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone. Now the Corpse Cart has added value if kept near Krell, maybe with a Mortis Engine nearby as well if you really want to double down. Also, try to avoid enemy armor-piercing units, especially Lords, that can spell trouble to an unsupported Krell. In almost all cases though, Krell does need some support. Though his stats are decent, the self-inflicted damage from being summoned means he comes out worse for wear from any engagement. Without support, he can barely kill a unit of Flagellants, let alone take on great swords, and he just about takes a unit of swordsmen down to half health before dying. Same with Longbeards and Chaos Warriors. He tends to just scare them off at that point. Krell needs support to be kept alive. Maybe a little too much support, but I think it's nice from a lore standpoint that Krell is so reliant on a powerful necromancer to keep him alive, though I'd expect him to deliver some more hurt. But between Krell, Kemmler with a Chaos Tombblade, and a Mortis Engine, you can collapse an enemy flank and begin an envelopment maneuver, or punch through the center of the enemy line so your troops can push into enemy range support. Yes, that does sound pretty hefty in terms of cost, but with those three combined, you have a relatively unstoppable train that can take out great swords, Longbeards, Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and other bread and butter units, and keep going. Krell can be very helpful from a tactical perspective, and while you can send him in to shut down enemy range support, I think you can leave that up to zombies. Though, Krell can now support this zombie surprise if your opponent has left a melee unit back there to protect the archers. In a campaign, Danse Macabre can be used to buff his hitting power, while Curse of Years will do great to protect him from enemy damage, but I still doubt we'll see much of those spells in multiplayer. If you're up against Krell, as you're likely to be very often in the near future at least, send your armor-piercing heavy hitters in against him, or surround him and bog him down with armor-piercing infantry. Make sure you keep your archers apart more than usual just in case Krell decides to go adventuring, and try to take care of his potential support structures. That's anything that might heal him. Don't be afraid to run away from him either. A speed of 33 can be outrun, especially with some magical assistance, and something like the Prey of Anathrema or Marked by Ulthar can help missiles get some work done as well. And if you've run away, his life will slowly trickle away. Worst case scenario, you have about 130 seconds to hunt and kill Kemmler before he can bring Krell to the field, so be aggressive. Be very aggressive. Vampire counts are slow to close the gap, and that can be enough time for Lord of Undeath to be prepared. Truth be told, Krell is not that frightening if he has no support, or if you can keep him bogged down. Send in cavalry or flyers to toss him around and slow his approaches or keep him out of engagements. Keep your distance from him or just surround him with armor-piercing damage and watch him fall apart. Do you have any thoughts of your own on how to use or abuse Krell? Share them down below in the comments. This is a very early video based on early impressions and testing that I just got a chance to do, just to get the ball rolling on a pretty interesting new addition to the game. There are multiple ways to approach anything on the battlefield. We just need to find the ones that work best, because that's what being a great general is about. As always, for more Total War content, make sure you subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for more battles, campaigns, and news as we push towards Norska and then Game 2. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheers.